Manufacturers come and go. Aero, Togo, Morgan, CCI, Schwarzkopf, so many others. And when they die, their models die with them. Sometimes, models are killed off by their manufacturers. This can be for good reason, but other times it leaves us wondering, why? We wait and we wait, but a decade passes and the model is quietly put to rest. Today, let's look at some defunct models we want to come back and how to make them better, and others that are better left to the depths of history. These are the best and worst defunct coaster models. First, thanks to Garrett Hewlett for this video idea. Let's start with Aerodynamics and their suspended model. This was introduced with the Bat at Kings Island in 1981, the last one being Toboggan at Kings Island in 1993, now also named the Bat. Other manufacturers have made suspended coasters that don't go upside down, but these have been family coasters. We haven't seen anything with free-swinging cars since. S&S bought Aero's assets after their bankruptcy. Maybe they can bring this back. The old suspended coaster was always considered a borderline family coaster. Some, like Vortex and the Bat, much more intense than the others, those like Iron Dragon and Ninja. It seems like there would be a market for a reimagined suspended coaster, ones that can swing out up to 90 degrees, make the trains open with just a lap bar. With modern engineering, they can avoid the stress in the track and make it extreme. I'd love to see it. Now for Togo, and yes, there actually is a model that I would love to see come back, the Ultra Twister. I've never ridden one, but I would love to go to Japan and try one out. These were in production between 1985 and 1994, and there are 4 still operating. This has a linear layout, going through airtime hills and inline twists, forward then backward. This is kind of outdated. It has to slow down and reverse course. Togo isn't making coasters anymore, but a modern take on this would be awesome. Maybe a longer layout, maybe throw in a loop or something else if you want to keep the linear layout and avoid turns. You can use vertical drops, more twists, maybe a faster transition to turn the train around. Something like a dive loop would be awesome. Intamin, I'm nominating you to get this done. Speaking of Intamin, they are still alive and well, but they have a few models they aren't making anymore. Let's start with their suspended catapult coaster. There was only one of these, Volcano the Blast Coaster, and this was built to be in the mountain, so that was a very custom model. They did come out with the Impulse Coaster. That used the same technology, but it wasn't the same model. I know Volcano had a ton of problems. That was a prototype. It seems like Intamin is crushing it with their new LSM coasters. Another custom launch and verticoaster would be awesome. It would never happen, but if Cedar Fair got something like this to replace Volcano, that would be perfect. Intamin also has the prefabricated wooden coaster, and I am considering this one extinct. There are only 4 out there, the first coming in 2001, the last in 2008. These are more expensive than a regular wooden coaster, but because the wood is laser cut in a factory, it's much smoother and more durable than a normal wooden coaster. Now we know, these do develop major track issues over time. Because of that, I think this is officially doomed. It seems like that was a major selling point, and now it doesn't seem worth it. Still, this is one of the great models ever invented. In America, we have El Toro, and there's nothing else like it. I don't even think it needs any modifications in the layout. Just figure out a way to make it last longer to justify the cost. Intamin also invented the Accelerator Coaster, and this really shook the industry. These are defined by that hydraulic launch, and as amazing and powerful as these are, they were a maintenance nightmare. This was in production between 2002 and 2010. It's responsible for the world's tallest coaster in King Ka. It also broke the speed record 3 times, the very last accelerator being Formula Rossa, and that's still number 1 at over 149 miles an hour. Maybe Intamin is cooking something up. They've moved off to LSMs, and those are much more reliable, but they aren't as powerful. Over time, maybe they can invent a new kind of launch coaster that will shake the industry once again, just like the hydraulic launch did in 2002. Another one for Intamin, and this one is kind of a weird one, the bobsled. This was very early Intamin. I think they had a renaissance in the late 90s, and they left all those 80s and early 90s models behind, one of them being the Swiss Bob. This was only in production between 1984 and 1986, and only 2 of them are left, Lava Bora at Six Flags Over Texas and Alpine Bobsled at Great Escape. I really enjoyed both of these. They definitely feel old and out of date, but they're so much fun. That off-the-track, out-of-control feeling is awesome. I love how it feels it's gonna jump the track every time it twists and dips, and sometimes I think it actually does. My only complaint is the brake runs. I don't mind it slowing down the train that much, but the way it shakes around to straighten out, that bangs up your knees. Maybe we can get a modern bobsled that's taller, faster, longer, more out of control, but maybe it can be contoured to be less janky and need less brake runs. Mock Rides has 5 of these still open also, but they haven't made one since 2001 and they have longer trains. And then, of course, there's Flying Turns at Knoebels. That opened in 2013, and that was definitely a one-off, built in-house by the park. Last one for Intamin, the Wing Rider. Furious Baco is the only one they ever built, and that's kinda weird. This also has a hydraulic launch, but it doesn't seem like it needs one. If they built another one with LSMs, it could feel like Thunderbird at Holiday World, but they can make it faster and more intense and low to the ground like Furious Baco. I heard this one is rough. Maybe there's a challenge when it comes to having the cars on the side of the track. You definitely bounce more and feel all the imperfections when you're out there. But B&M figured it out, so why not Intamin? This was built in 2007, so I think Intamin has made strides since then and they can do it. Moving on to S&S, let's talk about their 4th Dimension coaster. Aero came up with this, and X was their last coaster before going bankrupt. We mentioned S&S bought their assets, and they were able to build 2 more of these in Asia, one in 2006 and one in 2012. It's been over 10 years now, and it makes me wonder if we will ever see one again. This one may not be extinct, but I think everyone would be stunned if someone announced that they were getting a new one. I've ridden X2 a bunch of times and it has its problems. Just like Furious Baco, those wing seats start bouncing up and down, and it can run kinda rough. Apparently, the S&S ones are a lot better, so honestly, I don't have any suggestions to make them better. I just wish they would build more, maybe one closer to me so I can ride it. Now for Chance Rides, and I'm calling out their Hyper GTX. I know, they're opening a new one this year. This is Hot Wheels Twin Mill Racer at Mattel Adventure Park, but this is going to be a looping model, possibly launched, and it doesn't look anything like their original, Lightning Run. This was built in 2014, and even though it's only 100 feet tall, it's one of the most powerful airtime machines that I've ever seen. It's been almost 10 years since we've seen anything like this, and we'll see how good the new one is, but I don't have high hopes for that one. Let's talk about Morgan, and believe it or not, I want them to bring back their hypercoaster. I'm not even counting Phantom's Revenge. That wasn't their original layout. I'm talking about Superman El Ultimo Escape. This, apparently, is so much different than their 3 American hypers, Mamba, Wild Thing, and Steel Force. But I love Steel Eel, and I know what Morgan can do. Superman is apparently amazing, and that was their last one in 2004. Back in 2001, Chance Rides absorbed Morgan, so while Chance is making the smaller scale Hyper GTX coasters, they can also give us some of those 200 plus foot hypers like Superman. Whatever they learned between 1996 and 1998, they seem to have applied to Steel Eel and Superman, so it's a shame that was the last one. Next up, Schwarzkopf. They were a big time player in the 70s and 80s, but they didn't make it into the 90s. Still, they gave us some awesome coasters that we still enjoy today, and some that we don't. I think the one defunct model that we can bring back is the compact multi-looper. You may recognize Texas Tornado at Six Flags Astroworld. This had 4 different home parks, but it's been out of operation since 2014. Mindbender at Galaxyland is another one. This was just confirmed to be permanently closed, but we still have a few, one of them being at Indiana Beach and reopening this year. And of course, you have Wiener Looping at Wiener Prater. This would be a cool concept for another manufacturer to bring to life. Maybe Zierer, Gerstlauer, Premier. I can see it happening. I don't have any major modifications. Just make sure it's smooth, intense, just has lap bars, and we're good. Last one, we're gonna pick on Zierer. They've built almost 200 coasters, and only one of them was a launch tower coaster. I rode Wicked at Lagoon many times, and that launch up the vertical spike is addicting. You feel like you're on a rocket ship, going straight up and flipping over to go straight down. Zierer built this in 2007 and never again. I would love to see another one, but I would definitely make some changes to the layout. Make it taller so the vertical launch lasts longer. Pack it with airtime hills and inversions, not just the one that Wicked has. And, for the love of God, give it a better second half. Wicked really dies in the second half. It needs a corkscrew and some bunny hops or something. Now, for some extinct models that we're glad is gone. Intamin came out with a Space Diver in 1985, and lucky for us, this was the only one. Z-Force traveled from Six Flags Park to Six Flags Park, built to be easily taken apart, its layout making no sense. So, if we're talking about Intamin coasters from the 80s, give me the bobsled, but leave the Space Diver alone. I would love to see another Ultra Twister, but Togo also invented the looping mouse, and that thing sucks. There were a few of these, including one that's still open in Japan, but in America, we got Windjammer at Knott's, and that's all we needed to see. Small, pointless, headbanger, not Togo's best. Chance Rides needs to make more Hyper GTX coasters, but I'm glad they left their toboggans behind. These are listed as discontinued. Even though some of these are still popping up, I think these are all used models. They're so portable, anyone can have one of these. There may be some laying around in someone's yard, who knows. But these are pretty awful and should never be replicated. Giovanola has only built 3 coasters on their own, but let's be thankful they aren't making any more hypers. Goliath and Titan may appeal to some people, but not me. It's fast, it's smooth, but they tried to avoid any kind of force outside those helices. They couldn't have made the ride any more boring until the 2 helices on Titan and the 1 helix on Goliath. They're not terrible rides, but as long as your park has a Giovanola Hyper, there's no way you're gonna get a better Hyper, so it's good they're not making them anymore. Last one, SNS needs to give us more 4D coasters, but get them away from the wooden coasters. This seemed to be a flash in the pan, opening 4 of them between 2003 and 2004. Apparently, Avalanche at Timber Falls was good, but that one's gone. I rode Timberhawk and thought it was pretty bad. Everyone says Hellcat is ungodly rough. And then there's Falcon in Denmark. I may ride that this year, maybe not, but I would love to see where that lands. In general, it seems like SNS and wooden coasters don't mix, and they're much better off building crazy steel coasters. That's all for this video. Let me know what you think about my picks, and if you have any models that you would bring back. Before you go, don't forget to drop a like, and if you're new here and love coasters, please give me a sub. Also, check out my links below for my Discord server, and my second channel where I post copyright-free off-ride footage, and my baseball channel if you're also a baseball fan. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.